After Mass a couple of months ago, I walked outside and I said, Father, I'm discerning marriage. Do you have any advice? He said, I do. How much time do you have? I got all day, because I've heard of these two words, discerning and marriage, but I've never heard them together. He said, I got some great advice, and that's what we're about to get into in this beautiful new style of dating, also known as courting. So I'm going to bring some parallels of how the church, Catholic Church, actually did marriage forever until the last 60 years screwed everything up. Since after World War II, maybe after Vatican II. The first thing is we're all called to a chaste or celibate life. That's it. Nail in the coffin right there. Chaste life until you're married, and then you can live an unchaste life. If you're living a vocation for the priesthood or convent as a nun, you're celibate. Or you could be celibate by yourself where you're not married, or you are not part of the religious order. Either way, you have to live a chaste or celibate life. So he said, number one, no living with anyone. Number two, no physicality. Number three, all dates are sober during the day. Whoa, okay, interesting. And then he went down the 3 steps, which actually Father Ripperger, there's a great video called Courting by Father Ripperger, I think it's Father Ripperger, who talks about it. So I'll give you the 3 steps in the Catholic Church as the way he explains it, and then I'll bring you to the synonyms of today's way of thinking. So number 1 was friends, okay? Number 1, today, that could be known as dating. But you are not physical, you are not holding hands, you're not doing anything, you're getting to know each other. Number 2, in the Catholic, so you went from friends to courting. Now you're exclusive if you're today. So you went from dating to exclusive, boyfriend, girlfriend. And then you're engaged. So the church was friends, courting, betrothal. Today it's dating, exclusive, engaged. So those are the synonyms of each other when it comes to the verbiage that Father Ripperger used, that this priest used. So essentially, you are getting to know immediately, and by the way, you are under the assumption that they are also looking exclusively for marriage. This isn't for people that maybe if it happens, it doesn't happen. No, these are people that are serious about finding their spouse. They're serious about discerning for their husband or their wife. They are looking to get married. They're not looking to go on dates. If you're a woman, you are not looking to meet women. If you are a man, of course, yes, you have to go on dates, and of course you have to meet women. However, I went out to a after church event, and one of the people was talking about like, well, you know, if it happens, it's not a big deal. You know, I've asked a lot of these girls out and everything else. There's no discernment in that. He was bringing up like a dozen dates from the church, or like 15 dates from the church. Like, what? How are you going out with 15? And obviously there's a lot of judgment going on my end, but are you discerning marriage? If you're not, and they're not, okay. But this is the category for someone like myself, which is like, listen, I'm discerning my wife, okay? She's discerning me as a potential husband. So number 1 is during the day, you're serious about getting to know each other, sober, over tea, going for walks, whatever, and you're essentially taking each step very seriously. Each question, you're really figuring out, are we aligned on where we want to live? Okay, cool. Are we aligned on how we're going to be living? Are we both working? Is the husband just working? Is she part-time? Is she having hobbies? Is she raising the kids? Are they homeschooled? How far out are they willing to go to another location? All of these things have to be discussed openly and freely in truth, which is objective speaking. There is no subjective, it's objective. My objective for marriage is ideally this. Their objective to marriage is this, and you're essentially sharing the objectives. I know you could think of it as subjective, but subjective means that there is no foundation of truth. The foundation of truth is that you're gonna live a Catholic lifestyle. Moving on is being friends, as Father Ripperger said, and as the priest said, is that you are essentially removing the emotional aspect of the physicality of holding hands, of hugging a lot, of nuzzling in and on each other on a park bench. Like, you have to remove that and get to know each other, because there's plenty of time after you're married or after you're courting to betrothal or exclusive to getting engaged. And the biggest thing, as the father and as Father Ripperger said, is that you have to remove as many emotions and just logically think all of these aspects going into a commitment, a sacrament with God. And unbroken, you cannot break the sacrament unless there's obviously bad things happening, okay? Physical, emotional, things like that. The church obviously allows for that. But if there's, we're just, falling out of love for a couple of months, you can't just get a divorce. That is off the question. The D word is off the question. It's not even there, which is something you have to obviously discuss as well. Moving on is what he said, the priest said to me, is that you have to fall in love with love. Okay, that sounds easy. I know what love is. He goes, no. What you're thinking about is lust or pleasure or the flesh. Love is truth. Love is sacrificing your own desires. Lust is taking advantage of someone else's desires or someone else. That's lust. You're using them. And he went in even further, and I never even thought about this because I was so worldly, is that when you are going into the courting or the friendship stage of discerning marriage, is that when you are thinking of love, it's truth and beauty based on morality and ethics, not on the way they look, or women look for money, or how tall he is, or does she dress pretty, or does she have long hair, whatever the case is. Yes, of course, there's obviously, they're cute, I'm attracted to them, things like that. But in today's society, that is paramount. Lust, pleasure, the flesh is paramount, and that's why there are so many divorces, because that is finite. That is a dark hole that just is endless to the bottom, where you could never think that and then boom, you reach the bottom of the hole where you go, wow, I was falling in love with things that are finite, like her looks or his money or his height, or the way that, she's all feminine and I'm attracted to that. Where are the morals and ethics? When those things hit the fan, you have your first fight or your first argument or your first tiff, you have to be able to come together standing on a basis of God, of truth, of this is forever. We need to work this out, okay? Ironically enough is that I then walked into a conversation, and it was right after I talked to the priest about all of these things where sober during the day, getting to know them based on them. I entered this conversation with, it was a mixed group of about 3 or 4 men, 3 or 4 women, and it was amazing. One conversation changed my whole dynamic of looking at the women at this church. I just started looking at them, and they were talking about Augustine, and someone else had another book by, say, I think Jerome, or the commentaries on St. John's Gospel. And I was like, wow, fall in love with truth and beauty. That's love. That's love. That's true love. Love is truth. It's not this desire of the flesh. It's not this desire that you can potentially run out of. You can't run out of truth. You can't run out of beauty. Beauty is infinite. Beauty is connected to the divine. And I left that conversation and I said, wow, when you put this woman's morals, ethics, and values above everything else, and as the priest said, fall in love with nothing exterior, because that is going to get old, not her, but that's going to get old in your mind. There's just so many times you're going to see her physically, but fall in love with her love for God, her fear of God. Why? Especially to women that may be considering a husband that is a little worldly. You don't know what he is looking on the internet, on his cell phone. Or for guys, if she's really pretty, there's guys that are going to be, sliding into her DMs. This is reality. We're dealing with the internet. It's a global marketplace, unfortunately. So between men and women, you have to look for someone that fears the Lord more than anything else, fears the judgment of what they're doing. As harsh as that sounds, that's the only way. Yes, you can love the Lord, but if you go, I love the Lord, but I'm still looking at illicit materials, or I'm still entertaining Bravo TV, or I saw this TikTok trend and I'm going to bring my husband into it even though he doesn't really want to be on TikTok. I've seen those. I've also seen the fellas that are like, you know what? I don't need to go to the gym. I'm married now. Or, I don't need to do certain things when it comes to providing for my family. I'm married now. It's falling in love with their love of the Lord, because both people need that. So I know it's an incomplete video. I'll definitely make another one after this, but leave your comments below on what was your biggest turning point, either discerning marriage or a point that I missed, which there are definitely points that I missed. Subscribe for more videos along these lines. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.